Yeah, so my name is Philip Brun Del Re. I'm originally from Michigan. I lived in Atlanta for a couple of years, then I moved out to the West Coast, and now I'm a MFA student at San Diego State University. Primarily focused on painting and printmaking, as well as crossing media, mixing media, kind of doing a fusion of different styles. Yeah, so graphic design for me is kind of more of like a vocabulary or a way of thinking or a way of organizing thoughts into something that can be perceived easier and get a certain message across. Yeah, I kind of think there's two different things there. It's like, on the one hand, I think it's been elevated a lot, whereas it's like a legitimate career in a lot of sense. But then on the other hand, with like the saturation of the market, I feel like it's also been cheapened a lot. So just with the amount of people that are doing it and how easy the tools have really made it to create certain types of graphic design, yeah, it's really been lessened. Whereas a few years ago, it was much higher esteem. So it's kind of a back and forth, I guess you'd say. Personally, I do mostly fine art or like art for art's sake instead of designing. So I'm kind of in my own world there. Most people are pretty receptive to what I'm doing. I'm kind of like mixing graphic design and illustration and painting practice. So it's something that's not as common, I guess I'd say. There's a lot of people who are more like illustrators that do graphic design, and I'm kind of coming at it more from a fine art or painting kind of background. Yeah, so kind of like I was saying, I figure myself as more of an artist or someone who's making art for art's sake, less applied. So yeah, in my sense, I'm using tools from graphic design to make impactful statements and or try to at least, and then also bringing in that illustrative side. So I have a few different things that I'm culling from to kind of make graphic statements, but I would call myself more of a graphic artist instead of a graphic designer or just a fine artist. I would say probably the biggest thing, especially since I've moved around a few times in the last few years, is really more finding the community and making those connections. So a lot of it is about networking. That was probably the hardest thing for me, and I think coming to an MFA program and going out to art shows, just keeping up relationships in art disciplines, so like going into places that are selling my prints or going back to galleries multiple times and talking with the owners. Those sort of things are kind of the hardest, where it's something you have to continually do to really make those connections permanent. So I guess I would say I'm an artist primarily because of the freedom, the ability to kind of follow my whims and research what I want, kind of create a vocabulary or my own world in a way. Sort of not having to answer to people is really nice, but at the same time it kind of makes you have to wear a lot of hats and I guess sort of keep yourself in check. You have to do a lot of different jobs that other people do as an artist. So yeah, I mean that's probably primarily why I'm an artist, is just the freedom and the ability to reach out into different fields and explore. But yeah, in the other hand, you do have to do a lot of things yourself. As I was kind of transitioning from like working full time to being an artist, I had to figure out other ways to like either make side income or I've been kind of going through different phases where I'm interested in different things. So making like a letterpress print, I had to research it. I had to figure out the tools for it. I had to figure out the people in the community that can do it, or the people that can facilitate me learning to do it. Yeah, that sort of thing. Also, managing money, managing my time when I don't have constraints on it, or someone telling me where to be, when to be, what to be, that kind of thing. Yeah, I mean, so I kind of like cross those boundaries all the time between the two worlds. I don't do a lot of client work, so that really affords me a lot of just ability to do what I want. So yeah, I don't struggle as much because I can easily kind of shift in and out of those worlds. I guess the future of graphic design continues to blend with many different industries and many different forms of art in general. So many things either being made for the home or like clothing. They're so curated nowadays, and especially graphic designers are branching into so many different fields that I really see it start to blend very much so. And kind of like one of our instructors was saying, you're really becoming more of a content or you're really curating products or curating lifestyles in a way more than you are just simply making posters or designing typefaces. So I really see those worlds blending a lot more as we move forward, as they already have. Yeah, I guess basically kind of what I was piggybacking off what I was saying earlier is you're going to have to wear a lot of hats. You're going to have to sort of see a lot of different things and perceive a lot of different angles of your career if you're going to be an artist or like a freelance designer. Yeah, luckily I've been able to be comfortable with just making art and not doing so much client work. So in general, I would say that it's very freeing to do fine art. Whereas if you're doing client work, you're always going to have someone refining your ideas. Yeah, I don't know.